first ever European Championship had it all. Political scandals, high-scoring thrillers, legendary football players, and a final which was clinched in extra time. All on film in high definition. Well, maybe not exactly high definition. The idea of having a European Championship was a contentious affair across European football. However, it managed to scrape its way into existence and is now one of the premier tournaments in world football. This is the story of Euro 1960. The European Nations Cup, as it was originally known, was first proposed in the 1920s by Frenchman Henri Delaunay, whom the competition's trophy is named after. However, it did not garner much support out of the gate, and overshadowed by the recently formed World Cup, it was shelved until a new vote was made in 1957, a whole 37 years later. The 1957 motion passed, although some major countries voted against its creation. 16 of the 33 UEFA member nations at the time refused to enter, including England, West Germany, Italy and Holland, so some real footballing giants. Before the Euros had been formed, regional European tournaments were what had supplemented the World Cup, with tournaments like the British Home Championship and the Central European International Cup. The early concerns about the Euros were that its existence would interfere with these more traditional fixtures. However, despite all that, the competition went ahead, and the finals of the first tournament took place in 1960. The finals consisted of only 4 teams. However, the qualification rounds of the tournament actually started in 1958 with the first leg of the round of 16 between the Soviet Union and Hungary. This was the first match ever in Euros history. Bizarrely, this took place before a preliminary round between 2 randomly chosen teams, in this case Ireland and Czechoslovakia. This preliminary round before the round of 16 actually happened a whole 6 months after the Soviet Union and Hungary had played their first round match, and Ireland managed to start in the same manner that they've continued in my whole lifetime, being knocked out at the earliest possible juncture in the inaugural qualifying competition. Ireland, disappointing me at world tournaments since 1960. Qualifying in the round of 16 was fairly uneventful, with only one tie being decided by 1 goal. This was Romania squeezing out Turkey 3-2, holding on to their first leg victory of 3-0 at home. France, Austria, Spain and Czechoslovakia all piled on the goals in their victories. This level of uncompetitiveness can probably be attributed to some of the absentees of the competition, being some of the stronger teams in European football at the time. The goals did seem to flow a lot more easily, which can perhaps be explained by some of the goalkeeping standards that can be seen in the limited amount of footage there is of this tournament, and also the formations were very different, with teams tending to play 2 at the back and 5 up front rather than the opposite way around which we're used to now. Portugal, Yugoslavia and the Soviet Union also easily progressed to the quarterfinals. The quarterfinals in this qualifying section, so sort of before the tournament proper still, were still fairly uneventful, with France, Yugoslavia and Czechoslovakia all securing their place in the competition proper with comfortable wins. The drama, however, came in the quarterfinal, which had extreme political tension around it, eventually leading to Franco forbidding the Spanish team to set off to Moscow due to alleged concerns about having to fly the flag of the Soviet Union in Spain, and there were some worries that it may cause displays of support from communist sympathizers within the country. This was a massive turning point in the competition, as Spain would probably have to have been deemed favourites to win the tournament if they had decided to continue their involvement. Real Madrid had won the first 5 European Cups in club football at the time, with Real Madrid striker and all-time great Alfredo Di Stefano particularly frustrated at the events, seeing as he had already missed out on attending the previous 2 World Cups for his country. The Soviet Union were allowed to progress automatically through to the next round, and they released a very modern day feeling statement in response, saying that from Franco's position as the right-sided defender of America's prestige, he has scored an own goal, which you can see going viral on parts of Twitter these days for sure. That ended the qualification stage for the first European Nations Cup, I decided to go a bit more in depth into this qualification stage, just because it covered so much of the tournament proper only taking up the one-legged semi-final and the final of the competition. France's Justin Fontaine, record holder for most goals in a World Cup, led the scoring charts in the qualifiers, alongside Titus Bramble's uncle, Titus Bubernik of Czechoslovakia. They truly don't make footballers with names like that anymore. Remarkably, Bubernik only scored 5 goals in his whole international career, and they all came in this qualifying stage. The final rounds of the competition would take place in France from the 6th to the 10th of July 1960, becoming home to the first finals of the Euros. First of all, I'd like to shout out the logo for the 1960 Euros. It's absolutely slick as anything, and I think it was used up until Euro 1996, if my research was right for this. You could stick that logo on a retro tracksuit, and you'd get posh lads who'd never played football in their lives buying it in those retro thrift shops for $100 easy. It's very nice, I like it. It does look a bit like it says UAE 60, so that's what I like to call this tournament in respect to the logo. So UAE 60. The Soviet Union walked through to their final in only their second year in international football. Having previously debuted at the 1958 World Cup, they won 3-0 against Czechoslovakia in the first semi-final. The other semi-final, between France and Yugoslavia, was an absolute banger, however. Yugoslavia took the lead with my nomination for Puskás Goal of the Year 1960, although Puskás might be a bit confused as to why we're randomly naming good goals after him in the middle of his playing career. They were pegged back immediately in the very next minute by France. France then went 3-1 up, and then 4-2 up, before Yugoslavia came roaring back with 3 unanswered goals in order to win and clinch a spot in the final with a 5-4 victory. This remains the highest scoring game of any European Championship Finals game to this day. The final was held in the Parc des Princes, where 17,966 people showed up to watch the final, which took place in the rain in Paris. These teams had met in the finals of the Olympics in 1956, where the Soviet Union had managed to win by 1-0. It took me a while looking at this footage to actually work out which team was which, but I got there eventually. The first goal was Yugoslavia's, which seems to take a shocking bounce on the way to the net past legendary keeper for the Soviet Union, Lev Yashin. At least that's how it looks to me. There's some debate as to whether it's an own goal, whether it's a goal directly, whether it's taken a bad bounce. Historically, it's been given not as an own goal, but as a goal. You can decide for yourself as to whether that pixel, which I think is the ball, bounces funny, or if there's a touch in there somewhere. The pitch does look a little like it's made out of concrete at times, and on the second goal I'm pretty sure the keeper also slips. It was raining at this game in Paris, so they were tied at 1-1 before the spirit of Chelsea-era Fernando Torres takes over the game, and chance after chance was missed. But finally, in extra time with 7 minutes left, there was a beautiful towering header by Peneldenik. I apologise for any pronunciations, albeit there was some questionable marking. He probably does have CTE forever due to the weight of those old footballs, especially in the rain. But Peneldenik was later quoted as saying that no one can forget such moments of glory. As for myself, that 113th minute winner was the most important of my whole career. That was the star moment of my life. So even at this early stage of the competition, in the first one ever, this still meant everything to the Soviets, who received $200 in prize money each for winning the competition. Apparently, at a reception in the Eiffel Tower after the game, the Real Madrid president at the time, Santiago Bernabeu, was ready to buy half of their squad with no hesitation, an approach which was apparently avoided. Czechoslovakia had also beaten France in the third place playoff in order to win third place. An interesting side note is that one of their players, Vlastimil Bubnik, who scored for Czechoslovakia in the third place playoff win against France, also won an ice hockey bronze medal at the 1964 Winter Olympics. As always with those older multi-sports athletes, it's basically impossible to imagine it happening nowadays, but it's such an interesting quirk of older sports, and I love seeing stuff like that. There's a lot of old cricketers and footballers and things like that, baseball players and NFL players. It's always a part of the older sports before things were so specialised, where you could just really appreciate how good these athletes were in their day, even if they were less, professional and fine-tuned in things. They still were fantastic athletes. The Golden Boot, which remember is only tracking the 4 games which took place in France, was shared between 5 separate players, and the UEFA team of the tournament boasted a superb formation, a 2-3-5 which Pep Guardiola would be proud of. Legendary keeper Lev Yashin was left with little cover from his 2 centre-backs, although goals should be flowing, with the 5 in the front line all coming from the Soviet Union and Yugoslavian finalists. So that's the tale of the first UEFA European Championship, or as it was called at the time, the European Nations Cup. I think that, like most people, I knew sort of quite a lot about the history of the World Cup, but the Euros were a lot more of a mystery to me, and I love learning and discussing the history of the sport. That's always really interesting to me, and in this tournament in particular, there's sort of international politics involved, there's footballing legends, there's the drama between the different federations, and then the fact that, of course, it's the first ever Euros in the lead up to the Euros that are coming up really made this video fascinating to me, so I hope you enjoyed it as much as we did. Probably on the back of this we'll be making another. Thank you very much, we hope to see you soon.